Greetings, my friends. This is Yannis Kombatsiadis with the Apocalyptic Knives, bringing you a video on sharpening kitchen knives. I'm sure all of you have a kitchen, and I'm pretty sure that all of you who have a kitchen also have kitchen knives, and that in time they get dull. So this is a way to sharpen them by use of sharpening stones. First of all, we're going to use two sharpening stones that have two sides each. This one has got 500 grit side, which is the coarse side, and 1000 grit, which is the finer side. And then, if we want to make them really razor sharp, it's a bit of a vice, you don't need to do it, but you can have a second one, which is 3000 on the one side, on the white side, and on the terracotta side, it is 8000 grit. This will make something so sharp like a razor. So we start with a bowl of water. We submerge the stone in the bowl and we let the stone soak up as much water as possible. Now, this one is already soaked because I used it before, but if it wasn't, you would see a lot of bubbles come out. When the bubbles stop, then you know it's time to remove the stone and it's ready. It's good to choose stones with this kind of rubber base because it really helps them not to slide up and down while you sharpen, which is very good. Stability is very important for sharpening. Now, the kitchen knife. The most special characteristic it has is that its blade, it's super thin. It's so thin you can barely see it when it's vertical. And that's very good because it really helps with slicing and with cutting, because there is not a lot of surface that will be in direct friction with the cut. And it actually makes sharpening a lot easier than thicker knives as well, because in thicker knives you need to find this edge and you need to sharpen in the correct angle to get the bevel right. In this type of knife you don't really need to do that. Even if the angle changes a little bit, which it is bound to be, it is bound to change a little bit, because it's impossible to keep this small angle totally straight all the time. But even if it changes a bit, the metal is so thin that it will form a new edge, and it will be totally perfect. So this is how we do it. We put some water. Of course, you still have to strive for perfection. It's just not that possible with this type of knife. And you place it flat on the stone, and then because you cannot feel the bevel, you imagine the angle you want and you turn it to that angle. It's somewhere here, I would say, the one I want. So with this angle, you slide it on the stone. Again, you try to keep the same. So let's start with a 500 grit stone. We water it a bit, then we place the blade on it flat, tilt it a bit, try to imagine the angle you want, because you're never going to find it by feeling it in this knife because it's so small. And then you slide it. If your knife is not getting sharp by doing this, you're probably having a very small angle. Then tilt it a bit more and you'll see that it will change. This will change. With every time you slide it, there should be metal removed and sharpening happening. So after 3 times, just change to the other one, or after another number of times that you choose. It doesn't really matter that much. You can keep sharpening until you feel that the knife is totally sharp, at least on this grit. Now, this knife was really dull before I started sharpening it. It is the usual case with kitchen knives, that they become really dull after some time, even good ones. So, now that I just passed it a few times on the on the stone, and you can already start to see a difference. I mean, it's cutting, but it could be much better, because, you know, it's not cutting totally in a totally smooth way. Like, it gets stuck a bit sometimes, even though the cut seems very, very nice. So what we are doing now is we are taking the stone, turning it around, and then there is this 1000 grit stone on the other side. We put some water on it to make it more wet, and so that the blade slides better. Again, we tilt the blade, we continue to do that. We try with one stroke to cover all the length. We try to cover all the length of the blade, because in this way the blade becomes straight. If you sharpen only part of it and not the rest, then it will be thicker after some point and thinner before it. So you don't want that. This will not help with cutting. It will make it, you know, get stuck when you cut. So you want it to have a smooth, complete sharpening all the way. So we did 2 strokes, and now we did 3, and now we do another 3 from the other side. And let's repeat it a bit. And now it should be much better. We'll make a small test. Oh yeah. Now it's much better, but it's still not perfect. I don't know if you saw it, but it's much better, but it's still not perfect. It's still not, I mean, it's getting stuck at some point, and I don't like that. So I will remove that by moving to the next stone. So this is the 3000 grit stone. I water it a bit again, and ready to go. Tilt the blade, slide it. Slide it. Slide it. On the other side, slide it, and another time, and yet another time. If you're doing it right, it really needs very few strokes. I'll make like some extra strokes. And at this point, it should be getting pretty sharp. So what I notice is that it's getting very, very sharp from here and on, and less sharp at the bottom. That's a common problem with sharpening knives, because you know, most of the blade gets the full range of motion and pressure, while the beginning doesn't get as much. So what you need to do in that case is, without trying to make, you know, still try to make it straight and connect it to the rest of the blade, but you can focus a bit on the bottom, on the start of the blade, and just sharpen that like this a bit, with very careful moves, and keeping the angle. Try to keep the angle perfect. And on the other side, and again. That's a very common trick, because this is a very common problem. It is almost bound to happen when you sharpen a blade, after some time at least. It doesn't appear immediately, but you need to mend it then, because if you leave it and you know, it keeps happening like that, then the blade will become very uneven in the end, and it will be beyond salvation. You can see that this grey powder, this grey slurry, is basically the steel with the water. So it's removing very little steel in very small particles. Just Swipe the blade a bit, and now let's try it again. I'm starting from the bottom. Ooh. Now this is way more sharp. And we will focus a bit more on straightening the blade, because I think we started to make some tiny teeth. So now after doing this, we'll just make some normal strokes, and this will fix the problem completely. One, two, three. One, two, three. Now let's try. Now this is a perfect cut almost, but of course, being the absolute perfectionist we are, we will turn to the 8000 grit terracotta stone. Again, try to find the right angle, keep firm pressure, slide it on the stone. If it makes very little sound, you're doing it right. And a very smooth sound. So, this is the final result. Let's try it on a page, on a sheet of paper. That's a razor. It cut through with no effort. It cut perfectly through all the paper, sliced it, and then it's totally smooth. It's a totally smooth cut. I cannot even feel the edge. So, this is how you sharpen a kitchen knife. Thanks for watching and be well.